Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is Brandon back, and we have a rig build for today. Nothing out of the ordinary, crazy. I'm rebuilding this rig as I had a couple issues and I'm swapping out a card. But for people just tuning in, essentially this is going to be a fresh rig build. This is an RX 570/470 build. I think 3 of them are 570s and 3 of them are 470s. Essentially, once you BIOS mod and overclock them, basically almost the same card. If you want information on that, just type in Google or check out my channel and look up BIOS modding RX 470, 570, 580 cards. That's going to be unrelated. What we're doing today, though, we're doing the hands-on portion. So today we have the Sapphire RX 470s and 570s. I believe these are all 4 GB models, so we're most likely going to be mining either Ethereum Classic or Ethereum. Obviously, right now the DAG file is low enough that we can still mine them on 4 GB cards, but it's not going to be that way forever. I think end of 2020 is going to be phasing out 4 GB cards. Don't quote me on that because it always seems to change back and forth a little bit, but that's probably going to be your most profitable mines on these cards at the moment. The motherboard we have is a Gigabyte H110 D3A solid motherboard. This is a 6 GPU motherboard. It's got 1 full-size slot and then 5 PCI 1X slots. The processor I have in here is a G4400 Pentium, nothing special, just enough to get us by. 2 cores, 2 threads. Running 4 gigs of DDR4, nothing special. I think it's Patriot Viper RAM, but it was just the cheapest thing I could get my hands on at the time. The frame is a Veta 6 GPU mining frame, and then the risers of choice for me are the ubit risers. I like the black and red ones. They have multiple power inputs, but I definitely don't suggest using SATA, and Molex is never a good idea. If you can do 6-pin, try to always go 6-pin. So that's what we're working with today. I have some of these. These were the metal shielded ones, but essentially the same thing. A couple more capacitors. Same thing though. 6-pin in and nice little black and red risers. So I'm going to get started assembling this, but that is literally everything you need minus your power supply. I'll talk about the power supply here in a second once I get the cards mocked up and before I get the actual cables on. That's how I like to do it. Alright guys, so now that we have everything assembled, we have the cards up there, the risers are in, the USBs are running down to the little stub, the one-time stubs for the risers onto the motherboard. The motherboard does have the optional Molex power. That's not always necessary, but I like to plug it in if I have the extra plugs. CPU's in, RAM's in. We are basically ready to go. The power supplies I'm using is a Thermaltake 500 watt, 80 plus rated, and then a 750 watt EVGA G3. This is 80 plus gold. That is providing most of the power to the cards. This is providing the motherboard power and power to 2 of the cards, because that 500 watt is not nearly as good as that EVGA gold. Now, with that being said, guys, this mining rig, obviously, I bought it a while ago, but this is about a $600 setup used at this current market time. I wouldn't pay much more. I definitely would buy it if I could get my hands on it for less. But on average, right now, 570s, the 470s on eBay are going for $70 to $80, but they can be had if you can wheel and deal with somebody for $50 to $60 a card. So basically, you're looking at $300 in cards on this setup. The H110 D3A for a long time was a $39.99 special on Amazon. On eBay, I've found them as low as $20 to $25. We're talking about the motherboard right now, guys. These processors you can run, G3900s, G3930s, G4400s, basically any Intel, Celeron or Pentium, even i3, but you'll burn more power unnecessarily. But anything from that generation, and you'll be ready to go on this motherboard. So cheapest thing you can find will work. 4 gigs of DDR4 RAM, nothing special there, just cheapest you can get a hold of. You're looking at about, I don't know, $20 for a used set of RAM, for a used stick of RAM. Also, that processor is probably going to set you back used somewhere in the $20 to $30 range. Your power supplies is where you're going to get most of your price variation. I would suggest going with a single 1,000 watt power supply. I obviously didn't have that, so I'm using what I have. But you can find used 1,000 watts, golds, sometimes bronzes on eBay in that 50-ish dollar range. You just got to hunt for them. If you go onto a lot of people's private like Discord for sale pages and stuff like that, we have a for sale page. There's really good deals. I knew of a guy that was getting rid of EVGA 1000s for $35. But yeah, I mean, lots of power supplies out there, lots of stuff out there. Building a system like this should put you in that $500 to $600 range if you can find good deals. Now, if you pay MSRP and buy everything brand new, this is probably going to cost you double that, probably $1,200 at least, if not more. And as for the risers, I recommend the ubit risers. I'll put a link down below in the description for those. They're on Amazon. I like them. If you have a problem with them, you can just send them right back through the Amazon return service. I really haven't had any issues. I think I've had one burnout out of buying maybe 50 plus of the ubit risers. They just work. So I'm gonna get this bad boy plugged in. We're gonna talk about the profitability on something like this here in a second when I get upstairs. Whew. All right, guys, I'm back out of the heat. So just to talk to you guys a little bit about the profitability of a rig that I just put up downstairs. Obviously, got to let it run for a while, but going off of what to mine and just giving some rough numbers, it's figuring these 470/570s at about 27 mega hash. That's about right. You normally can push them a little bit harder and get a little bit more, but we'll go with what they said first. You're looking at a 6-card rig making about $2.50-ish a day. It says $2.57. That's before electric. So depending on if you're not paying electric or if you have really cheap electric, you're going to have to figure that in. Now at 10 cents per kilowatt hour, you're looking at profiting about 90 cents a day, give or take. Right now it says 91 cents a day. Some people pay more for that electricity. Some people pay less. Some people are able to underclock more or overclock more. So, there's some variation to that. But basically, if you have free electricity, that rig will pay itself off in a little over 200 days. So it's like 230 days. Not great, but still not bad. And that's if Ethereum Classic stays at its current price of $5.97. Now, if you're able to mine up, a couple Ethereum Classic and then Ethereum Classic doubles or triples, everything, all the calculations go out the window. It ROIs in a mere matter of months instead of like almost a year. It's like, it would ROI in like 2 or 3 months instead of like, 5, 6, 7 months. But obviously we can't take that into account because we don't know what's going to happen. Now, if you do pay electricity and you have 10 cents per kilowatt hour electric rates, you're looking at 714 days to return on investment if ETC and the difficulty stays exactly the same. And obviously there's something to be said if ETC doubles, triples, quadruples, if the difficulty goes through the roof, everything is subject to change. So basically right now, Do I recommend 470s or 570s for anybody coming new into the market? No, I don't. I'd rather steer them towards an NVIDIA card that you didn't have to deal with BIOS modding, and it's a lot more user friendly, and I think you have more resale value coming up in the future. Being that the 570s, 470s, even 580s and 480s have been out now for it's been years. They're nearing end of service life, not in usability and not in power, but in terms of generation. They're going to be, old cards. Nobody likes buying old cards, especially when they're now multiple generations back. So with that being said, hopefully this helps you in your endeavors of buying, mining, that kind of thing. And obviously, if you can get a hold of the hardware for cheaper, you can return on investment even faster. You can ROI faster. So what I like to look at before, my closing statements and everything, one thing I like to look at is if I can get half the value out of my rig when I go to sell it. Say I built this rig for 600 bucks. If I can get 300 bucks out of it, that means technically I only need to make 300 bucks to ROI. And if I'm working off of that 90 cents per kilowatt hour, 10 cents per kilowatt hour, so I'm making about 90 cents a day in profit, that means realistically, after the first year, these cards have ROI'd if everything's been pretty stable. If ETC or Ethereum or whatever I'm mining takes off, they've made money. But if they fall down to little to nothing, I've basically lost money, but I can recoup some at the end. So it's all about how you want to plan it out and look at it. Mining is definitely like a calculated gamble. Nothing is guaranteed. So with that being said, I hope y'all enjoy the video. I'll see you on the next one. Adios.